Everyone loves to cook a steak. So I'm going to show you the way that I do mine today. The first thing that I always do is once I pull a steak out and get it, it doesn't have to be at room temperature, but I've let it sit for a minute, is to dry it out. Uh, if the steak is wet, it's not going to brown as well. Also, a lot of your seasonings don't stick as well on that kind of a steak. Now, some people at this point would boil the steak or use some sort of fat to make sure that seasoning sticks. Before we do that, on this New York strip, I believe that we're going to cut the fat off of this. Now, some people will say, obviously, that this is a bad idea. And yes, you can laugh at my knife skills because they kind of suck. But when you have a partner that does not like fat on their steak, you trim it off and you use it in other ways. We'll get to that later. But in this particular case, I did not cook the steak on the stove or in the oven. I used a Ninja wood fire grill to smoke the steak, and we'll get to that later, and give it some added flavor. I love doing that with chicken, pork, steak. It all depends. But to me, it's almost meat candy when this is done. And now that we have this steak trimmed down, we're going to go through the seasonings. We're going to start out with salt and pepper, and then move on to onion powder and garlic powder. As you can tell right now, though, I'm currently washing my new knife off. I just recently got that shown, and it's an amazing piece. Now, as you can see here as well, we have the strip of fat there. That is not going in the garbage. I'm going to use that while I'm cooking the steak on the Ninja wood fire, not sponsored. And I'm also going to use it in the sauce that we have for the finished steak, which turned out to be really delicious. So here we go, salting up the steak, and we use a fair amount of salt. It doesn't have to be, Google levels of salt, unless you like it. I personally don't. But flavor has to come from somewhere within a steak. A steak by itself just doesn't have its own flavor. The seasonings are critical. Lots of pepper here. And we will do the other side. And make sure to wipe the hands so we don't get salmonella on our grinders. More salt, more pepper. And then we'll get the garlic and the onion powder shortly after this. Now that we've got this pretty nicely seasoned, I'm going to add a little tahini just for a little bit of zing in the steak. It doesn't take a lot, and it's not going to add that much, but it does give a little citrus and a little acid to the finish of the steak, and that's what we're doing here. All right, now that we've got the steak prepared, and you'll see this later. I did not film the grilling of the steak, but we're going to move forward with making a au jus, more or less a gravy, to be honest. Um, where we've heated up 2 cups of water, and we're going to add some bouillon to this to have a nice beef base. Be approximately 2.5 to 3 tablespoons for 2 cups. I believe it's 2, but it depends on how strong you want your beef side. I like this paste better than I do the cubes. The color's a little off. I do not like the color. I have to say that. But the flavor in this is pretty good. I do salt and pepper to taste. And as you see, as we go through this, we're going to add some other things. A little bit of thyme, a couple pieces of garlic smashed. So we haven't got the steak on the grill quite yet. We're just kind of prepping some of the sauce work. And we're continuing here. We've got our garlic that we're going to prepare. Got it pretty much skinned down most of the way. I use the same old technique everybody else uses. Just smash it, get the garlic where you want it, and then peel it. It's almost impossible to peel this stuff without breaking it a little bit. And I need it broken anyway for the sauce. So we'll get these added into our sauce shortly. And we'll go from there. So now that we've done the prep work for the sauce, we're going to simmer this sauce down a little bit to concentrate the flavors. At this point, I've added all my garlic, most of the ingredients. I'm holding off on the thyme just a little bit. I want these flavors to kind of melt. And here shortly, we'll add thyme into this mixture. And then we're going to let that, we'll stir it and let it simmer down a little bit to get the flavors that we want in this au jus. Oh, yes, I forgot. I add about half a cup of cognac to my gravies. It kind of gives a nice little sweetness to the sauces that I make. Thanks, Julia Childs. I have never seen a cookbook have more alcohol in it, but it's accurate. All right, now we've got the sauce actually boiling to reduce it down and concentrate the flavors. In the meantime, we're going to make a little bit of a roux here. Don't want a white one. We want this to be browned slightly. It doesn't have to be black, but we will brown. So the first thing, obviously, is to melt the butter, which is what we're working on now. And then we'll add some flour. And we'll get that together on the pan. And once we've got all that mixed up, we'll add some of the broth into the roux. And then we'll take it out of this non-stick pan because I can't use a whisk in there. And beat it together in a bowl to give us some thickness to this sauce. All right, at this point, we've started the roux in our little saucepan. I tend to run my roux a tad bit drier than a lot of people do, which is fine. This will be a white roux. I did not brown this because I didn't have enough butter at the time to do so, or I was just being lazy. In any case, we do have the roux created here. And what we will do is add some of the sauce to this to kind of smooth it out and make it easier to whisk in a bowl later. And here's what I didn't show you. I've already been out here and ran the grill on high and done some searing to get a little bit of a crust on this. Not too much, just enough. Just some grill marks is all we got. And basically what we're doing now is I'm doing a little bit of smoke flavor I'm going to add to this. It takes a little while for this to happen, but I've got a thermometer in. I'm going to continue to cook the steak, and when I get this done, we'll get some smoke on this and get it up to close enough to temperature. I'm going to take it back in the house, and I'll make sure I get a good sear on it in the pan as well. So we'll see you in a bit. Yeah, I kind of forgot that I was cooking the steak during this process. So in the meantime, I have included the small little clip of the Ninja wood fire and what we were doing there. We have strained the sauce at this point to get all of the things that get stuck in your teeth out. We're clearing that out. We've got it in this pan, and this is about the time that I realized a couple of things. A, I left the burner on, and B, I can't use the whisk in that pan. So, welcome to the absent-minded cook. Be fired in a restaurant. It was at this point that I realized I couldn't use a whisk in the pan. All right, so this is the steak after I had pulled it off of the grill. I have a thermometer on the grill, but I don't trust it very much. As you can see here, we got up to about 145, which is a medium well-ish kind of place. But regardless of that, I wasn't able to pan sear it like I wanted to. I definitely did not want to. steak at this point. And I did use the fat to render on the cooking process and in the gravy. It added a nice smoky, beefy flavor to the au jus gravy combination that I made. It was delicious. All right, our gravy is ready. Our steak is ready. This is medium to medium well. Not something that I would cook for myself, but when you're cooking for two, sometimes you have to make exceptions. And I really didn't want to cook two. Again, being lazy, didn't want to cook two separate pieces of steak. But you can see that I got a nice medium temperature on this. And while I didn't eat any for this video, take my word for it, it was delicious. We'll see you guys next time.